In the early 90s, Dallas was shaken when bodies began popping up out of nowhere. But what was most horrific about it was the fact that with each of the victims, the eyes had been removed with surgical precision, all except the final victim. The man believed to be responsible was one who was known for his obsession with eyeballs, but the evidence against him was so slim that he was only able to be convicted of one, the final crime, which led a lot of people to question whether or not he was responsible for all three, or was he just a mere copycat of an original who got away with the first two? His name was Charles Albright, and this is his story.
You don't want to scare the public. I mean, you have to notify them, you have to let them know what's going on, but you don't want to terrify the city of Dallas and say, we have an eyeball killer out there.
Charles Frederick Albright was born in Amarillo, Texas, August 10th of 1933. He is a Leo. When he was just a few weeks old, he was adopted by a couple that had been struggling to have a child of their own. Fred and Dale Albright lived in a middle suburb home. They did pretty well for themselves. Fred was a grocer and Dale herself, Miss Thing, was a teacher. Fred didn't really have much of a relationship with Charles. He didn't have a bad one though. They just weren't really that close. Now, Dale, on the other hand, she was a very overbearing and smothering mother. She was also kind of strict, and sis was also kind of weird. She would force Charles as a child to wear girls' clothing sometime. I guess this was trying to get a 2-for-1 out of this child, honey, a girl and a boy. I don't know, because this wasn't something that he was interested in and that he wanted to do. She just forced him to sometimes dress up as a girl, and she would give him a doll to play with, and yeah, strange behaviors. Also, as a form of punishment, she would often tie him to his bed. As far as school and education, he really benefited from the fact that she was a school teacher. She kept him on track as far as schoolwork. She actually accelerated his education, which enabled him to actually skip grades and graduate early. Now, according to the story that Dale told Charles about his birth parents, his mother was an exceptional law student who was only 16 years old, and she had secretly married another exceptional law student and had become pregnant. Now, the young girl came from a very wealthy family, and when the father found out that she had secretly married and had become pregnant, he forced her to annul the marriage and give the child up for adoption, or else he would expel her from the family. And even though, she wanted him, she really felt like she had no choice. Dale smothered him so much, and she did not let up as he got older. When he began to date, she would chauffeur him on his dates. She would call the parents of the girl that he took on the date and give them like a report of the date and just assure them that her son was the perfect gentleman. People thought this was really weird and very much strange, but the people who knew her understood it as her being excited to finally have the child that she wanted, and that she was just really happy to have Charles. She wanted to build him up to be the best version of himself, and she wanted to also shield him from everything wrong and bad in the world. But baby, the tea is, sis is what some people would need shielding from, but we'll get there. When Charles was 11 years old, Dale caught him killing small animals and playing with their bodies. But sis was like, you know what? This is a thing. This, it's a thing. People do this. It's called taxidermy. And so she, in denial that her child was displaying some very odd behaviors, she buys a taxidermy course kit that she can teach him at home, and he would spend hours on this taxidermy kit. She would often be right by his side, helping him with his little projects, and of course teaching him the course. The two would spend hours upon hours stuffing birds and small animals and mounting them and making them look just as lifelike as possible. And the final touch would always be the eyes. Instead of having the glass fake eyes, Dale insisted on using buttons from her sewing kit because she said that the fake eyes just cost too much. And Charles, he didn't want to use buttons. He wanted to use the real fake eyes. The real fake eyes. He would go down to the taxidermy shop and just stare at the jars full of glass eyes and just child just wishing that he could use them on his projects, but his mother always said that they just cost too much and she would never allow him to use those. Sis said that these glass eyes are just gonna have to do until you get a job, okay? Even though Charles did well in school and little Miss Dale did everything that she thought would contribute to him being a well-rounded and good child, Charles was still bad as hell. At the mere age of 13, he is convicted of aggravated assault, and this is just the beginning of his little criminal career. His mother made the excuse that because he was so smart and so advanced in school that he was just bored, and that, you know, him acting out was a result of that. Nevertheless, he gets through high school and graduates at the age of 15. And after graduation, he goes on to enroll in North Texas State College. And at the end of his freshman year, he is actually arrested for being a member of a student crime ring who broke into 3 stores and stole like hundreds of dollars worth of merchandise. When Dale is made aware of her son's behavior, she goes down to the store and she attempts to reimburse the store owners for the cost of the merchandise that they had stolen, but they refused her money and pressed charges instead. Now, Dale still was trying to protect her child, and so she goes to court and she asks for the permission to represent him in court. And when he's given a year in prison, she offers and begs to be able to serve out his sentence for him, but of course they told her no. After his release, Charles attends Arkansas State, where he studies anatomy with the intent of becoming a surgeon. He, of course, excelled in his studies, and he was also very popular. He was a part of a lot of clubs. He was the president of the French club. He was on the yearbook staff. He was a member of the school choir. I don't know if he can sing, but he was in there. He even took up learning new languages just because sis wanted to be bilingual or trilingual, however many languages. Charlie never abandoned his role as class clown, and even with all of the things that he had going on, he still made time for the shenanigans and foolishness. Allegedly, during his freshman year, he breaks into a girl's room and steals her nudes. In another act of foolishness, he steals a bunch of photos of his friend's ex-girlfriend, cuts out the eyes of all of these photos, and posted them onto a photo of another girl, a newer girl that he had been dating, and posted them all around campus. He put them in the urinals, he put them in the hallways, he just posted them literally everywhere. And because he was known as a prankster, people just looked at this as another one of his pranks and not really as the disturbing act that it was, because that's kind of weird. They just brushed it off as Charlie being Charlie. Nothing serious, nothing to see here. Now, ultimately, he ends up being kicked out of that school when a bunch of stolen goods are found in his possession. But sis said, I'm going to get my degrees and certifications one way or another, and I don't need y'all to do it, okay? He had been dating another college student by the name of Betty, and so after he gets kicked out, he goes on, continues dating Betty. The two get married, and they have a daughter. After Betty gives birth to their daughter, he begins to really feel the pressures to provide as a father and a husband. And so he is looking for work. He goes out, he gets a couple of jobs, and he switches jobs often because the jobs that he worked, he just felt that they weren't fulfilling to him. And at this point in life, he felt like he really just did not have enough time to just go back to school, get his degrees, and, you know, start all over again at another college. And so he forges documents saying that he earned his degree, and he made him some fake degrees, honey. And they look legit. He applies as a science teacher in a small town east of Dallas called Crandall. The school had been looking for a school teacher for quite some time, so they were elated when Charles came through with all of these impressive degrees and credentials and interest in their little school teacher position that they had struggled to fill. He goes on to interview and he presents the most impressive credentials. Sis presented a master's degree in biology from East State, Texas, and claimed to have also been working on his second master's degree. But of course, unbeknownst to the principal interviewing him, he had forged all of these documents, all of these transcripts he was presenting to her, and had never even earned a bachelor's degree. So this was a scammer. Whole scammer out here. All of his degrees, his certificates, all of that have been faked. I needed to go up a little bit higher with this A shadow-based child. He gets the job and Charles begins immediately. And right away, the students love him. They thought he was so cool. He drove this green Corvette. He wore lizard skin shoes and probably shades. I just imagine him pulling up in the Corvette with the shades on. But that's just my imagination. Running away with me. Many of the little girls had crushes on him and they would actually write him like these little love letters. He also helped coach the football team and brought a lot of like morale to the team. The teachers loved him, the parents loved him, all of the students, just all of the things. But honey, you know the old saying that everything that's done in the dark must come to light. Everything is great until an administrator from East State Texas University realizes that she had never met this Charles Albright, whose name kept popping up as one of their like graduates. It doesn't take her long to realize or find out that Charles is teaching at a high school under these fake credentials. Now, when she realizes that he had not really graduated from East State, Texas, she lets the principal know, like, this is a fraud. This is not right. When he is confronted about this, he smiles and he admits to committing the crime because he said that he just needed to bend the rules a little bit in order to get the teaching job. That's a lot of bending. Because the forgery was a victimless crime, they agreed to keep it out of the media. And the school also didn't want to put it in the media because they were a little embarrassed at the fact that they just, they got duped. They didn't want everybody to know. It's kept under wraps from the press, but he does get charges pressed against him and he pleads guilty to fraud. For this, he receives a year of probation. That's it. After that whole ordeal, Charles is embarrassed and he knows he got to get out of town, honey, because the tea is out. He moves his family back to his old Dallas neighborhood into a house not far from his parents, and his parents are at first helping him out financially until he gets up on his feet. At least that is the agreement. But when he gets there, he's spending a lot of his time doing other things, everything except trying to find a job. Because what he really wanted to do was teach. He just didn't want to go back to school this late in life and earn his degrees the right way. His neighbor's impression of him was that he was just this happy-go-lucky, intelligent man who could master pretty much anything, but simply just did not care to settle down for a 9-to-5 job. His wife was a legit high school English teacher while he continued for months to just borrow money from his parents until finally they told him that, we not rich, Pooh. We gonna cut you off if you don't, get it together. Like, this is it. He did not have a hard time finding a job. It was keeping the job that was the hard task for him. He worked as a designer for a company that built airplanes. He also worked as an illustrator for a patent company and then went on to be a carpenter after that. None of these jobs he held down for more than 3 months because he simply was not passionate about it. Baby, you got bills to pay. Get you a little hobby to be passionate about. You know what I think about when I put my lashes on now?
You know what they say about people who put on their lashes without an applicator? Y'all be starting fights and ending fights. I'm honestly scared of y'all.
Charles had this Pied Piper ability to really captivate people and draw them in. People throughout the town really, really admired him. Because he wanted to do something that he genuinely was passionate in, he decides that his next venture would be beauty school because he had this friend who was a hairstylist and I guess it looked fun. I don't know. He enrolls into school and he gets a legit license this time and persuades the salon that his friend worked at to hire him even without any experience. They allow him to come in and fuck up people's hair. One of his other hidden talents was painting. He was actually regarded as a very remarkable painter, especially like portrait style painting. He was really, really good at it. So his friend had this cool idea that a portrait of his wife would be this great gift to her. So he pays Charles $250 to paint his wife, and Charles agrees. He's excited about it. He's like, I got this. He works on the painting for weeks and his friend is asking for updates, but he's telling him like he's not done, he's not finished, it's still a work in progress. And every time the friend would ask for an update on the project, he would tell him that he was working on the most special part of it and that these things take time. But Charles wouldn't even allow him a glimpse of like the progress that had been made. So the friend was growing very impatient and he was tired of waiting. One day he decides that he's just gonna drop by Charles's house and catch a glimpse of this painting and see what it looked like. Charles invites him into the living room and there was this 6 by 3 foot portrait of his wife which was very lifelike. It was beautiful and extremely realistic. Her hair, her mouth, her nose, her ears, all detailed to perfection. But then he realizes everything is complete except for one thing. The eyes. The eyes are completely missing. It's just white holes, white almond shaped holes. And everything else is done. And he's like, Charles, you literally just have to put the eyes on, sis. Like, what's taking so long? When will you put the eyes on? And Charles tells him, when I'm ready to. It takes him an additional couple months to complete the eyes. When the friend sees the painting and how good it came out, he's so impressed that he forgives the amount of time that it had taken Charles to complete it. His marriage to Betty was deteriorating, and by 1975, it had completely dissolved. She decided that she was going to leave him, take her daughter, and leave. Neither of them were happy in the marriage, and so he wasn't too distraught about this. He actually became quite the ladies' man. After he was single, he really got out there and began to mingle. But unfortunately, he also went back to getting into trouble as well. In 79, he is arrested for forging cashier's checks, and he's also caught stealing perfume, like bottles of perfume. This time he avoids jail time and is just given probation, just a little slap on the wrist again and let go. And he does not learn his lesson, because the next year in 1980, he is arrested for stealing a saw from a hardware store. This time he wasn't so lucky, and he is sentenced to 6 months in jail. Again, Dale attempts to protect her son by covering for him. She told people that he was leaving Dallas temporarily to take an important job at a nuclear power plant over in Florida, and that he would be back. It was just this real important opportunity he had to go, take. After serving his little 6 months, he loses Dale. She passes away, and this is devastating to him, of course, because he was really, really close with his mother, obviously. His sister always had his back, even to his detriment. He throws himself into church to try to distract himself from the shit show that his life was slowly or quickly becoming. And during this time, he had also began to grow really close with his father. They had never really had a close relationship, but he felt like once his mother passed, his dad was a lot more like relaxed and easygoing, because Dale was also very, very involved and controlling in the father's life as well. Sis just had her hand in everybody's pot. They even established a routine of going to a local diner several nights a week to have dinner together. They really, really bonded. Isn't it called like trauma bonding? I believe so. This little trauma bond really, really worked for them. Now, Charles was looked at as one of the most dedicated members of St. Bernard's Catholic Church. And maybe he did have a little nice singing voice, because he joined the church choir as well. And I don't see him getting on all these choirs with a terrible voice. He was very, very active. He would read scriptures before the church at times. He would assist with communion. And they looked at him almost as like an assistant priest. He spent a lot of time congregating with the members of the church, and a lot of people felt like they knew Charles on a personal level, and that he was just this sweet, loving, trustworthy guy. Everyone was comfortable with him, and he even dressed up as Santa Claus during, Christmas time, and would pass out gifts that he bought to the church children. One of the families that he had particularly grown really close to had a daughter. And just like with every other member of the church, Charles had really gained their trust until it is revealed that he was inappropriate with their 13-year-old daughter. Now, when this happened, the family of the girl didn't want to bring a lot of attention to it, because they did not want everyone to know. And it wasn't because they were embarrassed of her or that this had happened to her. They just wanted to spare her the shame, I guess, of everybody knowing, but they still wanted him to pay. They don't want to, let him off or anything like that. Just want to make that clear. They do press charges. And he pleads guilty to assaulting the young girl and only gets probation. He is 51 at the time. He begins traveling back and forth to Arkansas, and on one of these trips, he meets a woman by the name of Dixie. Dixie is a pretty reserved and shy widow, and she is quite impressed by Charles, so the two hit it off, and it's like a whirlwind romance. He would travel back and forth between Texas and Arkansas to visit her. The two took a lot of trips together. They would travel a lot together and just really enjoyed each other's company. But of course, she lived in Arkansas, so she didn't get the true tea about Charles. And there was another side of him that she was was completely unaware of. Charles was a regular of the red light districts over in Dallas, Texas. He also served as a regular sugar daddy for a woman by the name of Susan Peterson. And there's another woman by the name of Mary Pratt, who's a longtime friend of his, and she had recently gotten into like sex work. And he decided that he was going to support his friend and be one of her first and most loyal customers. And these are just two of the women whose services that he would pay for. He was well known by the working girls as Old Man Albright. He was regarded as a very good trick, one who would pay a lot of money. He was known to pay a lot more than what you were asking for your services. Some of the girls he had a completely platonic relationship with. He literally would pick them up. They would go grab something to eat, get a room, and he literally just wanted to talk to them, which I think is kind of a normal thing for some guys. He would spend his whole little hour or however long with them without making any kind of advances toward them at all, just literally just for the company. And then he would drop them back off and still compensate them handsomely for their time and attention. With others, he had standing sexual appointments, and by this time he had actually moved Dixie to Dallas. So while she was away at work at the local mall, he was out there being sexually serviced by the ladies of the night. By the mid to late 80s, a few of the girls had begun to put an end to their dates with Charles because he was becoming increasingly aggressive and weird. He had also began making strange requests that they were not comfortable with, like tying him up and spanking him like a child. And they were like, you know what? I ain't come here for all of that. In one instance, he picked up two girls to do a double, and he takes them back to the hotel room and ties them up. Now, they agreed to this, child. He actually handcuffed them. They agreed to this. This wasn't too much. This was okay. But then he brings out a belt and an extension cord and begins whipping them with it while yelling, "Scream, bitch, I know you like it." In 86, he loses his father and he inherits $96,000 in cash. And he also inherits a few properties that they'd owned. Now, in order to bring in some more money, he decides to begin to rent out one of the houses and then move he and Dixie into the family's house that he had grown up in. Now, he had a nice little setup for success, but he begins to blow the money that he had inherited, and he wasn't being too responsible with it at all. This began to put a financial strain on he and Dixie's little setup. And so on October 1st, 1990, he tells Dixie that in an effort to bring in some extra funds, he had taken up a job as a paper delivery guy. So he would be away delivering papers in the middle of the night. At first, she is not really wanting this because she said that she had trouble sleeping without him. She had actually been the one that had to compensate for a lot of their financial woes because he had struggled to get him a little full-time job. But you know, he probably wasn't trying to because we know how Charles is by now. Anyway, nevertheless, whatever the case, she had been paying most of the bills and she was sick of that shit. So she agrees to, allow him to go out here and deliver papers overnight. Every morning he would wake up at around 3 a.m., hit his route, and be back in bed by 6:15. He also joins a senior softball league, and the team would often sit around the ballpark at the end of their games and, have a couple drinks or just congregate and chat. One day, while they are sitting around talking, a car with two women who were known to be into the sex work pulls up and slowly drives past, and one of the teammates makes a joke at Charles, and they're just like, "Yeah, Charles, go get that." While it was obviously a joke, to everyone's surprise, Charles responds in a very hasty, bothered manner, "I'd kill them if I could." And they were just like, "Girl, what? Like, why you got to be so rude?" Now, in an effort to lighten the mood and kind of, make light of the situation, the friend is like, sex workers are really needed to keep men from chasing married women. And Charles snaps and is like, "The hell it does." This was the first time that any of them had ever seen any aggression from him. Even those that had known him for years had never seen him get angry and get this upset, especially from something that just wasn't even that serious. And then he gets up and he storms off and gets in his car and he leaves. Now, the next time the team gets together for practice, that teammate who had made the joke, he kind of felt bad because he had triggered Charles, but he still didn't understand why he was so triggered. So he goes to him and he apologizes and he tells him, you know, it was just a joke. I'm sorry if I offended you. I didn't have any ill intent. And Charles tells him that that's a touchy subject for him because his mother was a prostitute. He was not speaking of Dale, he was speaking of his birth mother. You see, he had attempted to trace back his biological parents, and while his biological father was not able to be traced, his mother could. Charles was extremely disappointed to find that she was not, in fact, the brilliant law student or lawyer that Dale had made her out to be. Instead, she was a nurse in Wichita Falls, which ain't bad, but whatever. It was not confirmed that she was into any kind of sex work. The two had actually formed a relationship, and he had visited her several times as an adult to take her gifts, so this was really strange. Somewhere in his mind, he had made the connection between her and sex work for whatever reason that's unknown to this day, and it had become a real sore spot for him. On the morning of December 13th, 1990, the body of 33-year-old Mary Pratt, long-term friend of Charles, is found in a field. She is naked from the waist down, and she had been both beaten and shot. The town was horrified by this discovery, but even more horrifying was the fact that both of her eyes had been removed with surgical precision. The medical examiner was completely dumbfounded by how perfectly they had been removed, especially considering that that technique was not something taught in medical school. And according to him, whoever had done this had had a lot of practice, either on something or someone. Almost exactly 2 months later, on February 10th of 1991, along the same South Dallas road that Mary was found, 27-year-old Susan Peterson is also found in the exact same way, eyes meticulously removed. Now, police knew, of course, they were looking for the same perpetrator, but they had no idea who this person could be. I mean, of course, not right away. Then on March 19th, 1991, just the next month, the naked body of a woman is found propped up against a tree that sits directly across the street from a grade school. As the children are literally walking to school, they can see this woman, which is horrible, not only that it happened, but for the kids to be exposed to it and traumatized. Now, this crime scene was a lot like the others, except for a couple of things that were different. She was completely naked, and there was an unopened condom placed right near her body. The eyes had also been removed, but not with the precision and perfection as the two before her. It was a very sloppy job. And then there was an X-Acto knife like lodged into her face, like right underneath one of her eyes. At this point, because all three of the women were sex workers, they began interviewing the sex workers to see if one of their Johns had become like aggressive or had tried to attack them in any way. And they were like, yeah, bitch, we complain all the time. Like, y'all don't take this stuff serious. Many of them said that a man had tried to attack them. They felt like they had just barely managed to get away from. And they had actually reported these attacks to the police, but the police didn't take them serious because they said that they received multiple complaints like that a day. Like, that's a very common thing for them to come in and make reports of Johns being aggressive with them and mishandling them. And they really didn't take it serious, which they never really do when it comes to ladies who are into this kind of work. Now, Charles becomes a suspect when one of the ladies tells them that Charles had not only had a relationship with Mary Pratt, but he also had this weird obsession with eyes and knives. And so they probably needed to go check this out. And when a couple of other girls also came forward saying that he was the person in particular that had attacked them, they decided, you know what, it's time for us to go check this out. That was enough for them to secure a search warrant of Charles's home. Now, when they go perform their search, they find a Smith & Wesson that was similar to the one that had been used. They also find a couple of the same X-Acto knives in his house, as well as a red condom, which was the same color of the condom that was left with Shirley, the last and final victim. Now, because Miss Dixie was postmenopausal, they didn't believe that he was using the condoms on her. But he could have just been trying to be safe. Not me taking up for a killer, oh my God. There were also several dolls found inside the house whose eyes had been removed.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Now, little Miss Dixie claimed that her man had been home all night, every night. But they're not trying to hear that, and Charles is arrested. The Smith & Wesson found inside their home turned out not to be a match to the one used in the crimes. They were unable to find any items of clothing that had DNA that matched any of the girls, but they did find a bucket of clothing items that were soaking in bleach inside the home. In addition to that, Dixie was able to provide receipts that their car was out of commission and actually being serviced during the first 2 crimes, but not the last one. Regardless of the fact, they still moved forward and charged Charles in all 3 cases, as well as an unsolved case from 1988. And that case wasn't even similar to these. Ties weren't removed or anything, so I'm not sure why they tagged that one on, but yeah, they did. His trial begins on December 2nd of 1991, and as it goes on, the prosecution's case crumbles and just falls to pieces. They claim to have had damning evidence, but it had been accidentally thrown away. They also had a witness that was willing to testify in court that Charles had attacked her and she had just barely managed to get away. But by the time the trial started, she withdrew her story and claimed that she had been coerced by the police to make it up. And then Charles's neighbor came forward and said that his car was out of commission during the first 2 crimes and that he can verify that Charles did not have a way around. With Shirley Williams, they were able to catch a break when some of her hair was found inside of a vacuum inside his home. And also, they took hair samples from him and positively matched them to hair that was found on her. This was the only solid piece of evidence that they had, and their case relied heavily on that. Ultimately, he is only able to be convicted of the Shirley Williams crime and is acquitted of the other 3. And his defense tried to appeal, citing lack of evidence, but it was overruled. Charles is currently being held at the Texas Department of Corrections in Amarillo, Texas. He reportedly still has a very odd fascination with the human eye and reportedly takes great interest in any story, fact or fiction, where eyes have been removed. While many believe that he is responsible for all 3 undoubtedly, some believe that he is only responsible for the one in which he was convicted and had attempted a copycat move of an original, which is why that one was so different from the others and why it was so sloppily done. Regardless which of the 2 you believe, Sis is right where he needs to be. And hopefully his ass is freezing and ain't got no power. Speaking of the people without power, all my people in Texas, I feel so bad. And my dumb ass the other day literally just said, I cannot wait to move to Texas because it's snowing like crazy here. Like, this shit is ridiculous. Because I'm moving to Texas in a couple of months, I was like, I can't wait to get to Texas to get away from this snow and this stupid cold weather. And look, literally just said that a couple days ago. We got so much snow here, like it's ridiculous, but we are more equipped to handle the snow. And I lost power twice on Monday, but I'm not gonna complain because luckily for me, the power was restored both instances within like 10 minutes. And y'all, I called my mama. I called Miss Sharon Vaughn and I said, Ma, is your lights out? Because she lives like 15 minutes from me. I'm like, Ma, are you without power? Is your power out? And she was like, no, Brittney. Did you forget to pay your energy bill, perhaps? And I was like, you tried it? Like, girl.
Pay my bills are paid.
Try me not, girl. My mama likes to try it, y'all. She really does. But that's my girl, though, whatever. So I ain't gonna give her too much. Not today. Anyway, this pretty much concludes today's video and today's story. I hope you enjoyed the look. I'm anxious to know what your thoughts are on this because I don't know. I feel like I'm teetering between believing that he did all 3 and believing that he did that last one. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I think he did all 3. I think he did all 3 and maybe he had more time with the first 2 or for whatever reason decided to take his time with the first 2. And the third one, he either was pressed for time or he just didn't care as much to be as careful. I think that's what it is. I think he did all 3. I'm settling with all 3. That's my final stance, is that he did all 3 and I'm sticking to it. And for me, the fact that he did not have an operating vehicle at the time does not mean a damn thing, because he had personal relationships with both of them. Mary was a longtime friend of his. Miss Mary probably had a car. He probably had her come pick him up, and then he could have walked home after the fact, or drove her car after the fact. And he could have done the exact same thing with Susan. So I don't give a damn about the car being down. I should be a lawyer. If I can't make a career out of doing this, and the rap doesn't go anywhere, and I decide not to be a drug dealer after all, I'm definitely gonna be a lawyer. Will I have to go to school though? Or can I just show up and represent somebody? People who represent themselves in court, they don't be having all these law degrees or whatever. I want to know. You probably do have to be an actual lawyer. Fuck that, rap it is. You guys, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up on your way out. Like this video, it helps me out a ton. Comment me your thoughts down below, because I want to know what you think. Share this video with a friend. We are almost 93,000 strong over here. Real close to 100K. I love y'all so much. And the new people that have come in, you know what's so funny? I look at my comments that come in from older videos, and they're like quoting things that I said that I didn't forget I said, and I'm just like,
oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed.
Don't be embarrassed. They love you.
like, that's legit the moment that I have. And thank you to everybody who recommends my channel, who shares my channel. I love y'all a lot. And as always, I appreciate you guys spending time with me, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. Precision. Blue, really? You gotta shake like that? Fred really didn't have much of a relationship.
Unknown caller.
Get out of here. Stare at the glasses of, like, glass. Really, the glasses of glass eyes. Oh, I look nuts. This is actually kind of scary. Let me blend. He gets the job, and Starles Starles. Who is Starles? She ain't nothing but a hoochie mama. Hoochie mama. Oh, I look cute with a little swoop action. Oof, look at this eczema, y'all. My eczema on my forehead is really cutting up. I'm eczema right now. And he also inherits a fruit. Aggressive with them. Girl, get out of here. I'm trying to hear that. And she is arrested. No, he is arrested. What am I talking about? She. Who is still Charles. I was trying to mix Charles and charged. Can't even get charged out. Is it Amarillo or Amarillo? I don't know. So sloppily done. Is sloppily a word? I don't know. But we're gonna use it. Oh shit. Girl, I thought a spider was crawling on me. I dropped a paper towel against my legs. I don't know if it rustled up against the hairs on my legs, but I felt a tingle. Mama was scared. You know what I'm thinking might be cute, but might fuck up this whole look that I probably shouldn't try, that I'm probably about to try to do anyway? Me ignoring every little thing in me right now that's telling me don't do it. Let's try. I definitely lost my footing with the arch. Hold on. Oh, I fucked it up. Let's fuck up the other side to match. So I went and messed up the other side to match, and now I'm going to try to fix it. And if I can't, it's not that serious. One, I'm not going anywhere anyway. And two, I like playing in makeup. You know what? I like... Warning, everything after this is pretty much an impromptu TED Talk. I like just experimenting. I don't know why I'm doing this shit with my hands. There was a point in which this was not fun to me anymore. And it's because... Hold on. Where's my brush? No, where was I? Yeah, it wasn't fun to me because I'm the type of person where I can take constructive criticism. And I made a post about this the other day, and I got a ton of positive feedback. I love y'all. But I think some people missed what I was trying to say. The post was not about trolls, because who cares about trolls? Like, girl, the joke's on you anyway, because you comment on my video, it's boosting my analytics. A lot of y'all, I imagine, watching the video all the way through like this, like looking exactly like this and liking it, but you hate that you like it so much, so you just mash on that dislike and then you click out of the video or you leave a hate comment And sis, you didn't boost in my analytics to help me out anyways. I don't care about the trolls. That was about people who leave comments like they're trying to give constructive criticism, or who just point shit out that's just not even that serious or important under the guise of I'm a fan, but, or you my girl, but, or I love you, but. It's like, girl, okay, like everything after but you can really keep. Anywho, I am the type of person that accepts constructive criticism. For instance, when I would first talk about women who are into sex work, I would call them prostitutes because that's what I knew. Like, I didn't know that was considered to be a derogatory term until someone pointed out to me, like, sis, that's, you know, I know you don't mean harm, but that's offensive to us. And I was just like, oh, my bad, girl. Ever since then, we using terms that don't offend. That is what I consider constructive criticism. And so because I was open to like making these subtle changes to things, I would read the comments and try to apply them when they were constructive. But then I started getting all of these other comments who were like complaining about like different applications, or you do this too much, or you don't do enough of that. And I'm just like, well, goddamn, this ain't even fun. Because I feel like now every time I post, it's just people who are going to try to find something wrong with it. I literally would not want to sit here and film, because it's just like, what's the point of going through this? It's fun. It was fun. And then I worked so hard to edit it and post it out of fun and for you guys' enjoyment, and then to see those kind of comments. And it's just like, girl, this is supposed to be fun. I don't post this shit for you to be a critic. 9 times out of 10, when I'm sitting here doing my makeup, my ass ain't going nowhere but to the couch, the kitchen, and probably out to walk Blue a couple of times. Like, literally, he's the only person that's gonna see it. He don't give a goddamn. One of my eyebrows is sitting up higher than the other. He don't fucking know. He don't care, and neither do I. Maybe I want to look like The Rock with the people's eyebrow. Maybe I want to look like there's something going on that I can't trust. You know what I'm saying? It's not that serious. So anyway, for some time that would bother me, and I was just like, A lot of times when I was supposed to film, I just wouldn't, because I just, girl, didn't feel like the mess. But then one day I said, you know what? A lot of these people who are making these comments probably got old onions and juice in the bottom of their refrigerator that they probably should be cleaning out, but instead they want to tell me what I should be doing. And so from that point on, I was just like, you know what? That particular day, I was just like, I don't give a damn. I'm gonna do what I want to do and have fun with it. If I want to do 10 looks of pink straight, I'm gonna do it. If I want to do this, I'm gonna do it. And that was right before I went to 2 uploads a week, because this genuinely is fun for me. I genuinely enjoy doing this. I genuinely do. I look forward to this. I like filming. I like editing. I like researching. And so I was like, you know what? And then a lot of times I didn't even want to go to my comment section, because I'm just like, I ain't got time for y'all to disrupt my positive energy flow today. But talking to you guys in the comment section, because I'm very active in my comment section over here on YouTube, it's another thing that really brightens my day. And so now I'm just like, damn. Not only are they limiting the time that I spend doing stuff that I want to do, I'm allowing these people, because I have to take some accountability. I'm all about accountability. I'm allowing these people to now run me away from my comment section just because I'm just like, I don't want to see anything that's going to upset me. Girl, please. I was like, you know what? I'm giving them too much. I had to reel it in. I was like, girl, no. We're going to have to hire a DJ, get some decorations up in this piece, and cue up the block party that we used to have, and just block them girls. And unfortunately, YouTube does not allow you to block people from watching your content. All it does is, like, when they comment, they're the only ones that can see it. Like, literally nobody else. It's really just a shadow ban. Nobody else can see their comments but them. They don't even know that they've been blocked, which is fine. So I was like, you know what? That's what I'm gonna have to go back to doing, so I can protect my peace. Protect your peace, Donnie, at all costs. After doing that, I decided I'm gonna go to 2 uploads a week, because like I said, this is fun for me. It's therapeutic for me. I love y'all. And now I feel like I have more control. And I'd be damned if I allowed people to, you know, control my energy. If it's one thing I know how to do, it's spit bars and protect my energy. You know what? I think I'm gonna try like a little funky jazzy neon look. Feeling inspired by this. Granted, I don't know if I'm liking the direction we're going in or not. I don't hate it. Hold on, girl. So this side be kind of hard to do and talk. I don't hate it. I was trying to make just like a literal white stripe, but it's giving very much like a neon effect. I think if it was like that and then like came in and it was all green, I guess I would like it if it was completely different then. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that it's a little too busy with everything that's going on, but if it was like just the green, matte green, that line, that neon vibe, it would be cute. I'm definitely gonna try to attempt some little funky neon look in the next video. Examama is feeling inspired. Here is a closer look, child. There's a lot going on, I know, but I don't hate it. Besides, Blue ain't gonna care. He the only somebody that's gonna see me today. Child, I done had a whole TED talk at the end of my bloopers. Like, girl, I'm gonna wrap it up here though, I promise. Thanks for listening. I love you.